you doing? Thanks for watching. I'm saying it now in case you suddenly feel like you've got somewhere else to be before the end of the video. Okay, so with that out of the way, let me bother you for a minute as I have a confession that even a priest doesn't want any part of. Me, being an absolute worst kind of snob and just about anything other than food, always kind of laughed it off when my students tried to make me listen to some K-pop stuff, trying to get me excited. Maybe even to one day join in their dance group performances at huge events where they recreate each and every move they see in the videos of their beloved songs. And I was like, yeah. Do I look like a person that'll scream like a little schoolgirl when Justin Bieber would drive by in a limo back when he was still a lad? Or maybe some virgin teenage boy doing anything just to be near women and hope one of them will one day notice him? Nah, kids. I always just brushed it off like a fad for people who just don't understand music. You know, just consume what television drops on their plates, and K-pop was an iteration of J-pop, which was an iteration of, well, who knows. It certainly wasn't a take on good pop music. But you know what? One day I was in a hotel room let's leave it at that, and I had the television on and this music channel had like a K-pop hour or something. And suddenly I was like, hey, this sounds pretty good. What am I listening to? Shazam had less of a clue than I did, so I sat myself down to watch the video so I could write down the name at the end. So it was April with the song My Mistake. Man, what can I say? This song was love at first sight. It had such a sweet vibe to it. It felt like 80s pop, but with some highly dramatic upgraded Commodore 64 type of sequences and overall sounding a bit like EDM almost. It brought me back memories of Get Into the Groove and Causing a Commotion, which are hands down some of the best tracks ever pressed on the 80s physical music format. That music always made me feel like you were on a holiday. Absolutely sensational musical jams. So when My Mistake brought back that feeling, I was smitten. Then combine that with a group of absolutely gorgeous women dancing and suddenly I got the appeal. Some of my students would argue with each other over who looked best in their favorite K-pop bands. And then they'd come up to me and go like, teacher, who is the cutest? And then every time I point one of them out, they would go like, the bleep is wrong with you? Why did we even bother to ask? Why is this relevant to this story? Well, because of my students, I was kind of trained to look for who looks best, by no fault of my own of course, and I just chose Lena Un. I had to look her name up, probably butchered the pronunciation as well. It was a pretty simple choice, but later, when I had to watch the video a couple of times, I was like, actually, you know what? Maybe it's Leen Jun Sol. And again, you know, don't blame me for the pronunciation, it's not like I speak Korean. And then, like 10 rewatches later, I was like, man, I can't tell, they're all kinda cute if you ask me. But before you start calling me a shallow sexist pig or a bigot or whatever and consider gathering the masses to cancel me, let's move on to other topics. So why did I watch that video so often? You see, I didn't understand myself. I also tried listening to the song without watching the video, but I found myself unlocking my tablet or notebook every time, just to enjoy the video again. This is why I'm posting this video, also because YouTube, like myself, is all about videos, baby. And videos, I found out, it is what K-pop industry does very, very well. They have really cracked the code, it seems. Say what you want about the K-pop industry, like I used to, but they are so incredibly professional, you just cannot deny it. Now let's look at some of the details that I'd like to point out after analyzing this video again nearly 6 years after its original release. Of course, there's the obvious, the performers look great and so do the clothing and the styles these girls show off. Makeup should receive their credits too, because looking up the individual band members makes someone who isn't like a dedicated fan having to spend much longer than expected to find who you're looking for, because they look different from photo to photo. So makeup, like everything else, is just top notch, I swear. Now if we totally move away from the appearance of the girls, which isn't easy because gosh darn, not looking at them is quite hard, but let's try anyway. I think what K-pop in general really nailed is a tight collaboration between choreography and camera work. And though they are not 100% accurate, at least not in this video, they are so well executed that you won't notice slip-ups unless you watch the video frame by frame. They switch from outfits while moving, kind of what 90% of TikTok is all about. Only this video, they did it before that attack on everyone's brain cells started spreading among our future doctors and people who would have become scientists. But now just tell other people how to wear their hair or how to pump iron to look hotter. So like I said, the choreography and camera work really walk hand in hand. It makes life in the editing room so much easier. Sure, editing can still deliver a bad final cut if the editor or director isn't a pro. But for this video, it's pretty clear there were nothing but pros involved. So let's have a look. Here you see the camera ever so slightly move in and out at the rhythm of the girls moving their shoulders, and then the girl on the right breaks free to take it somewhere else and announce a change in the song. This moment where the camera slowly tilts along and gets pushed back straight up, and the girl creatively incorporated bringing her hair back behind her shoulders. Here another example of switching between outfits. Have a look at this sensual sequence. The arm movement is smooth and rounded, and the whole thing is just plain old seductive, with a great transition. The camera seems to be repositioned by the flick of the girl's wrist, and then we are suddenly at the cage wall of a sports facility. With this shot I do wonder if Lee Na-eun is separated slightly from the others on purpose, and what would be the reason behind it. Is it a slight hint that you as a fan have to recognize she looks better than the rest? Like I said, I felt that way in the beginning, but of course that could just be because of the way she's presented in the video. She has most of the solo lyrics at the start and is heavily featured. And, like in this shot, she sometimes is subtly highlighted. At least that's what it seems like. Then we have to look at this masterful sequence. Girl walks past the other girl and they draw hearts in unison. Beautiful, I loved it. But just for the fun of it, because there is no such thing as perfection, let's look at why this could have been slightly better. As the girl walks to the front, there's a switch between the shots, but she isn't in the exact same position. Could be an editing error. Then when the three of them draw hearts, the girl on the left is late throwing up the gang sign. But like I said, no one would notice it unless you look into it a little deeper. Also, she's in the back, so it doesn't stand out at all. And then we get this part of the song that I just have to share with you. Singing changes slightly, but because it now sounds different from what we heard before, it hits like a home run. There is more emotion, almost desperation, almost like a heartbroken plea to not leave her or something like that. One of the small details that makes this song also such a kiss on the ear, or maybe even a soft warm breathing into your ear by someone you are very attracted to at an intimate moment, is this. I don't know how to describe it. I'm not a musician. I cannot be able to do everything.
Man's got to know his limitations.
This bit specifically brings back vibes of this bit in Aaliyah's Try Again. By the way, I'm not gonna go into any conspiracies concerning Aaliyah. I just miss her. Man, what can I say? This video and the song is such an achievement. Of course, everyone has their perspective, and sometimes you think something is on such an elite level of quality, and you look to your left, you look to your right to share the excitement, and you find no one there. Maybe it's just me and my opinion on this song is laughable compared to other K-pop, but I come at it from a different angle than K-pop crowd maybe. Maybe the song is just not K-poppy enough and it fell on deaf ears. But something tells me if, like Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande or perhaps Katy Perry, I mean, it was 6 years ago. I can't help but to think that song could have been a global hit. The production, in my honest opinion, is top notch. But that brings me to another thing I need to point out. If any of those global stars had done the song, it would have been in English, and that might have held it back. Part of what makes the song great for me is not knowing what they're on about. Not the slightest clue. Yeah, you know, it's probably about wanting to find a boyfriend to sell the dream, but I could only assume, and maybe I was being shallow. Back in 2018, I eventually looked it up, just out of curiosity. And it instantly destroyed some of the magic. I was right, by the way. And the lyrics made me throw up in my mouth a little. Sometimes it's better not to find out. So I think this kind of brings me to the end of this guilty pleasure video, but I'm not leaving until I get this out of the way. Bless me, subscribers, for I have underestimated the K-pop industry. I have had quite a few foolish assumptions on it. Also, sorry to my students back then, and sorry to all K-pop fans in general. You were right. I was wrong. It was my bad. If you're still here, might as well drop kick that subscribe button. Or, you know, maybe do like a Korean choreographed dance and hit that button as well with your foot. If you don't, it'll be your mistake. And you might be the next one singing this to me later in life. Alright guys, thanks. Bye.
Subscribe quietly or there will be trouble.